All right, welcome back, people. Welcome to JustBet TV, the show where we break down the biggest football moments and give you all the insights you need to help you make the most of your bets. I'm Jordan,
And I'm Shav.
and this week, Shav, we're going to go to the most exciting stage of club football. Of course, talking about Champions League round of 16, and we're talking about Carabao Cup. Of course, we talked about the Champions League round of 16 last week. That was the first leg. So this week was another big week because the second leg in those round of 16 ties were coming up, and some teams needed to work some magic, and other teams needed to just get over the line, just to see the game over the line to get into the next phase of the biggest European club football competition. But it was also a big week for the punters, Sham.
Yes, that's correct, Jordan. Over 11.3 million paid out for the Champions League alone. Big money.
Big money. Over 11 million just for Champions League
Just
alone.
for Champions League. And we had some favorites too. We had some real good favorites. We had the Arsenal and Leverkusen match. Punters played it safe with that one, betting for Arsenal to win. Unfortunately, it was a draw. Yeah, so
And we called Arsenal to win.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, Shav, that game was a favourite amongst the bettors. Also, you're looking at Real Madrid versus Manchester City. You know there's going to be a lot of interest in that one. Plus, PSG, Chelsea. Obviously, the Bodo versus Sporting. We said GG because we know a lot of goals are going to be scored.
That's true.
And we were right. A lot of goals were scored in that one.
Yeah, definitely. It would be very interesting for the second leg. I mean, every team will have to come out gunning in this one. So this one should be very exciting. A few of you got real creative last week. Jordan, and when I say creative, I mean creative. Look at this ticket and I want you to tell me at the end of it, how much did you think the person won? Petty score to win. Wrexham versus Hull City, both teams to score. Exeter versus Lincoln, with Lincoln winning, and then they stepped into the Champions League. Galatasaray versus Liverpool bet builder, over 3.5 bookings and over 7.5 corners. Atletico Madrid versus Tottenham, with Atletico winning, of course. Atalanta versus Bayern Munich, with Bayern Munich winning. Of course. And then they went into another bet builder. Leicester versus Bristol City, over 8.5 corners and 2.5 bookings. And then they went with Newcastle versus Barcelona. Both teams to score and over 8.5 corners. Jordan, after that, how much money you think that punter went home with?
Boy, Shav, before we even talk about the money, what kind of ticket? I mean, which league? I had to do some research on some of those leagues, right? Because Turkish second tier league, I mean, that is on the ticket, and then you're betting things like over for corners, over 7.5, and bookings and so on. Very unusual type of bet, but a very smart punter, I would think, because if you're betting putting all these things on one ticket, then you must have some vision, some dream, something that make you bet that. But I'd say maybe, I don't know, 100,000. Somewhere there?
Not even close, bro.
Serious?
This punter bet $5,000 and walked away with 500,000, over 500,000.
500, over $500,000?
Over $500,000.
With a $5,000 bet?
With a $5,000 bet, bro.
Wow, well, I tell you what, if you get everything that he put on that ticket right, you deserve over 500,000.
And that is what I call a smart punter.
Yeah, boy, I like that punter style. You know, you use some of the Bush League, and then you bet on some of the favorites.
That's right.
You take the safe bets, you mix it with some risky bets, and you maximize. Over $500,000.
That's what it's all about.
I mean, based on that ticket that you went out, Sean, I can't be upset that that person win over $500,000 on a $5,000 bet, because guess what? To put all of those things on one ticket and all of them turn out to actually play out that way, you deserve that. You deserve that, right? Well, let's head in now to the second leg of the Champions League round of 16, because guess what? Tuesday's matches were very, very entertaining and intriguing. Partially, of course, because some teams needed to launch a comeback. Some teams needed to just finish the job, and other teams were hoping for miracles.
True.
But speaking of miracles, though, Bodo versus Sporting, right? I think last week we said GG. We ended up being wrong because Bodo won that 3-0.
Right.
So it's NG actually.
That's correct.
And Chris will explain that when he talks to you. But the point is, Bodo were continuing their fairy tale run. Or so we thought.
So we thought.
Until Sporting, the big team from Portugal, decided to launch the comeback of all comebacks in the Champions League so far this year and win the second leg 5-0 after extra time. So 5-3 on aggregate in favour of Sporting.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Not me. I thought it was done and dusted in the first leg. I mean, I predicted a 3-1 or even a 3-2, but I never expected Sporting to come and do the job. Kudos to them.
Indeed, and I mean, I guess, well, if you went GG for the second leg, then sitting pretty, right?
Pretty.
Not so much drama in this one. Not any drama at all. I mean, we picked Arsenal to win the first leg away from home. We're wrong. That match ended in a 1-1 draw. Kudos to Leverkusen. But I think any sensible better would have picked, if you're going with the safe pick, this week, you'd have picked Arsenal to win at home.
Right.
And that came true. Arsenal, seeing the game out, as Arsenal.
A comfortable 2-0
As Arsenal does, yeah.
A comfortable
under Mikel Arteta. So 2-0 to Arsenal. And I think that was a kind of straightforward pick for all of the punters. A good performance from Arsenal. I was smiling after watching that game on Tuesday. So well done to Arsenal. But we had some more intriguing games with some bigger teams going head to head.
That's right. Chelsea versus PSG. In all honesty, they came back with blood in their eyes as if they were the ones who were trailing.
PSG.
Yeah. PSG came out gunning, scored in the 6th minute, and then took it straight on. From there, ended the game 3-0 for Chelsea.
Yeah, it sums up a disappointing end to the Champions League campaign for Chelsea.
Right.
And especially, as we said it last week, it was a rematch of the Club World Cup Final from over the summer, and Chelsea actually beat PSG,
right?
Which at the time was a surprise, because PSG obviously is the reigning UEFA Champions League winner.
Right.
So people probably wouldn't have expected that. But boy, I never expected Chelsea to go out with a whimper like this. And it was done and dusted from the first game.
That's true. That goes
PSG
to show.
outclassed them.
Yeah, that goes to show the firepower that PSG has. Chelsea couldn't withstand that.
Yeah.
But speaking of withstanding, let's talk about Manchester City and Real Madrid. Manchester City got an early red, and we thought it was going to open the floodgates. But we were wrong. The game was still tight, Jordan.
Yeah, it was close. It was close. I mean, City, boy, I don't know. Over these two legs, I don't know if it's just the firepower of Madrid. Then again, I mean, the first leg really changed everything.
True.
Because once Real Madrid won that first leg 3-0, then it changes everything going into the second leg. You're not on even terms anymore.
Right.
And even though you're at home, you have to come up with some kind of strategy of how you're going to overcome a powerhouse like a Real Madrid and score 3 or more goals to try to go through.
Especially when Real Madrid scored first. Because the game ended 2-1. But kudos to Manchester City. They tried to keep the gap small because up until the 94th minute, it was still 1-1.
Yeah, it was still 1-1. And City created quite a few chances. Even when they were down to 10, City were still pushing and creating chances. But the thing about it is that obviously Madrid by that time knew they had the tie one. So their strategy would have been different. They would have been a little bit more lax. And they knew they just needed catch them on the counter one time, bam, finish the game off. As it turned out, Vinny Jr. again, always that man, right?
Right.
Getting on the score sheet, and Madrid through, and now City has the Carabao Cup Final. We're going to talk about that against my team Arsenal on Sunday to try to recoup somewhat of a disappointing season for them so far.
Right.
And obviously, the Premier League is still in doubt. I know some people want to call it and say Arsenal gone out, but I'm not going to do that so quickly, right? City is still in the Premier League. And of course, looking to win the Carabao Cup.
Now let's look at today's Champions League matches. We'll start off with Bayern Munich versus Atalanta. They lost 6-1 in the first leg, but now they're back for the second leg with some really nice odds. Bayern Munich being the favorite, they're going to be paid out $1.30. So putting a 10 grand bet on that, you're going to end up with $13,000. But if you're feeling lucky, Atalanta is paid $7.50 for their bet. So a 10 grand bet gives you $75,000.
Yeah, and
as
the
punter,
draw $5.50.
And the draw is $5.50. So as a real punter, I would definitely go with Atalanta on a sacred ticket. What do you say, you?
Yeah, because you're not talking about Atalanta winning the tie and
No.
trying to overcome a 6-1 deficit, right?
No, just
you're talking
the
about
match.
just the match. Yeah, I'd go for that. I'd go for that.
Liverpool Galatasaray. The first leg was a shocker. No one expected Galatasaray to beat Liverpool, but they did, 1-0. Now for the second leg, it's gonna be crazy. Liverpool to win with $1.23 odds, Galatasaray getting $9. What do you say? Do you think there's gonna be a draw? What do you think the draw will be?
The draw right now is at $6.33.
That's also good.
That's good. That's good. I want to tell you, Liverpool has been so patchy that you might be tempted to just go with the draw or go with the Galatasaray win. Maybe you want to try a little risky thing and go with a Galatasaray win. I mean, Galatasaray won the first leg. Obviously, going back to Anfield is a different proposition.
Right.
But Liverpool is not marauding.
That's true.
They're not scary.
Right, so let me just do a quick math here. So if I use a 10K stake on Galatasaray, that's $90,000. If I use a 10K stake on getting a draw, that's $63,300. And if I go with Liverpool, that's $12,300. As a punter, as a real punter, Jordan, I like to take the risk. I think I'm going with Galatasaray to win on this one. I just can feel a big payday, especially because you said it. Liverpool has been patchy. It doesn't matter if they're home or away. They're very inconsistent.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that knowing that they're down 1-0, the longer this game stays 0-0, the second leg,
right,
is the more Liverpool will have to try to come out of their shell and go for it, opening up spaces now for Galatasaray to exploit.
True.
That could very well be the Galatasaray win you're looking at.
I hope so, because that will definitely be on my ticket. We talked about 2 hot matches a while ago. Now let's talk about Atletico versus Tottenham. And this first leg was a goal fest. 7 goals. Atletico scoring 5, Tottenham scoring 2. So you know that the second leg, the odds might be in the punters' favor, because look at this. For Atletico to win the second leg, it's $2.50. For Tottenham to win, it's $2.50. And for the draw, it's $3.66.
Yeah, and of course we must say that the odds are subject to change.
Yes, right.
So these will be constantly changing. But, a bit surprised that it's even Stevens, given that Tottenham has been so poor and Atletico was so marauding in the first leg. Obviously now, Tottenham hosting this one, so maybe that's why the odds maker said, alright, well, we'll put it as a more even in terms of either team winning. It means for the punters now, you can go either way with this one.
You can go either way. Let me tell you. Both teams being even, Steven, with a $2.50 payout, a 10K bet guarantees you $25,000 on either team. But this is where it gets sweet. If we go for a draw with the same 10K, it's $36,000. And the punter in me wants the big money.
Yeah, I almost say that the odds are subject to change, obviously. They're always changing.
Right.
A bit surprised that they went with the even Stevens, given Atletico Madrid really blew Tottenham out of the water in the first leg. So I was thinking, I'm leaning more to Atletico Madrid, but then the game is being played at Tottenham's home venue.
Right.
So maybe that's what the odds makers were looking at and saying, okay, we'll probably tilt it just slightly back in the favor of Tottenham, and then the power of Atletico Madrid balances things out, and that's why it's easy. Not going to give you my prediction yet. Wait till the JustBet challenge for that one, Shav. But Barcelona versus Newcastle. Very, very interesting one, because Newcastle look like they might hang on and beat Barcelona. It should be a surprise, I think, to most people in the first leg, but it went down to the wire, and then a draw in the end, Barcelona securing that draw from the penalty spot. But in this one, $1.53 for Barcelona to win, the draw at $4.50, and Newcastle to win at $4.75 at the time of this recording. Shav, what do you make of that?
I know I love to say I'm a punter that loves to take risks, but I don't think I'll take a risk with Newcastle on this one. The 47,500 sounds good on a 10 grand ticket, but I think that I'd go with Barcelona and put my 10 grand there and win my 11,500.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go against that. I don't know that Newcastle has the big league pedigree to overcome this Barcelona team in Barcelona. It's a different kind of proposition. So I have to agree with you. We're going to go to the scoreline with the JustBet challenge a little bit later on, but we'll see what happens in that one. We have some key stats though. Barcelona has won 17 previous consecutive matches at home in all competitions. So again, talk about Newcastle traveling to the Camp Nou. It's going to be difficult to win there. Newcastle has conceded at least one goal in each of their last 13 matches in all competitions, with their last clean sheet coming all the way back in January against PSV Eindhoven. That's something for the punters to consider. They keep conceding goals.
That's very key.
So you might be looking at the GG for that one. And Barcelona have won 4 of their 5 head-to-head matches against Newcastle in the UEFA Champions League competition. So Barcelona basically own them.
Right.
That's last match was a blip. The one was a little blip. Barcelona basically own them. So again, something for the punters to think about.
Yes, those are very key stats, because what punters would normally look for is tradition and history, because those normally play out sometimes in predicting these matches.
Indeed. Always remember, play responsibly.
So next up, we'll discuss the Carabao Cup Final between Manchester City and Arsenal. And this Sunday, we'll be having a watch party for the Carabao Cup at 16 Chelsea Avenue, also known as the Summit House, Jordan. And this one is going to be really good.
Yeah, one for the history books. 10 a.m. JustBet watch party starts at Summit House in Kingston. And of course, the Carabao Cup Final kicks off at 11:30.
Also, don't forget the Goal Rush campaign. Punters, any ticket of $2,500 or more, whether in store or online, gives you a chance to win the main prize. Right, Jordan?
Yeah, big prize. And of course, the URL is on screen. goalrush.justbetja.com. Fill out the form, enter, and you have a chance to win. Now, we can talk about the big game, right? Sunday, Carabao Cup Final, Manchester City versus Arsenal. Of course, we're looking at teams with contrasting fortunes going into the game, Sean.
Right.
Because you're looking at an Arsenal team that had a stunning 2-0 win over Everton. Stunning not in the terms of Arsenal winning the game, but how they won the game.
True.
Waiting until the 89th minute to score the first goal. And then the wonder kid, 16-year-old Max Dauman, becoming the youngest player in Premier League history to score a goal to give Arsenal the 2-0 win in a game where Arsenal really knew they needed the points to create some separation. And then guess what? Manchester City drew with West Ham 1-1 after that. So of course, Arsenal extending their lead to 9 points, albeit City have a game in hand on Arsenal, so that can count for something. And City and Arsenal still have each other to play.
Right.
So that is also another factor. But you're looking at teams, as I said, with contrasting fortunes coming into the game in the Premier League and in the Champions League
as well.
Right? Because now City get knocked out of the Champions League. Arsenal are advanced in the Champions League. So the mindsets are slightly different at this stage. And that is now going to play into who we think will win this game. I want to talk about the odds though, Shav. Because guess what? Arsenal, slight favorites. $2.30. Right? And a draw, $3.20. Manchester City to win, $3. So just slight underdog.
And you know, Jordan, as a punter, you know I love the risk. And Man City, now out of the Champions League, I know they're craving for a silverware. So they're coming with all guns out. And if you pay attention to the Champions League match, Pep actually drew his main players off, because you can see that he gave up on that one. So coming this Sunday, I think Arsenal is in trouble.
Arsenal in trouble? I don't know about all that, right? I just told you all the things going in Arsenal's favor and all the things that are not going in City's favor. But I can tell you, of course, $2.30 for Arsenal to win. So a $10,000 bet on Arsenal will give you $23,000.
Right.
And then a $10,000 bet on City, of course, will give you $30,000 in terms of your returns. A battle of the top 2 Premier League teams.
Heavyweight.
Some people are saying that this could be a preview of who will win the Premier League title. I don't think so. I'm not buying into that narrative. I really am not.
No, I think, Jordan, this one is just a really good final between 2 heavyweights. A lot of things will happen in this match. For me, I think it will definitely end at a 2-1. It won't be a goal fest. I think it will be a more controlled game of the 2 tacticians, because you know Arteta is coming from Pep's school. So in this one, it's a show of the class.
Yeah, I don't like when people say that, by the way. I don't like this whole Pep school thing. But yeah, I get what you mean. Of course, I learned his trade under the tutelage of Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. And remember, punters, whether you're back in Arsenal or City or even a draw, JustBet has all the markets covered from home or away team to win to goals, corners, who's going to score first, who's going to win the first half, and so much more. So there's so many more things, Chav, that you can put on a ticket, as we saw with that punter who won over $500,000 earlier on.
Right.
We sit down and we talk and we read out all these fancy stats. But guess what? The real man is Chris, you know.
Real man.
Chris knows all ins and outs, and he will give all the expert insights and the tips that people need to know, the punters really need to know, on how them can build them best ticket, right? And maximize their winnings. And you're going to be chatting with Chris.
Definitely. What's up, Chris? Welcome again this week.
Thank you, man. Good to be here.
Yeah, some of the predictions last week didn't turn out, but we did get some good insights on some.
Yeah, but some turned out.
But some turned out indeed.
3-0.
3-0. And you called it.
Yeah,
you
man.
definitely did. So this week, Chris, last week we went with Bet Builder.
Yeah.
This week I want us to go with total and GG and NG. A lot of punters don't actually know what that means. So can you give us some insight on it?
Sure. All right. The total, GG, NG, GG, both teams.
Both teams score.
NG, one team or no team. So that means 0-0, no team.
Okay.
So a total now, it's a combination of both teams scoring goals. So if you bet on total, GG, it means that both teams will score. I don't matter how many goals you score.
Oh, okay. Well, I never knew that one. So thank you so much for that insight.
Yeah, man.
But Chris, let's say I want to formulate that into a match. Give us an example using the Barcelona match for today.
Is a Barca fan?
Not really, but I just love the money.
Alright, at home, Barcelona is a beast. In their last 9 games, they have scored 3 or more goals. 9 consecutive. So I would say the punters, total, and NG. Right, so now I don't expect Newcastle to score in the new time. So total is combination of more than 4 goals, and NG is one team to score. I don't see Newcastle score.
And you know, Chris, I really believe in your predictions. You know, so punters, I'm gonna put my head on the block with this one and say Chris will get it right. He's hardly ever wrong. So go ahead and get that ticket. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, man.
Now let's talk about Bet Builder.
Fan favorite.
The fan favorite where all the money is made. You know, today we have quite a few games. So I want you to give us your 2 hot picks that we can use for Bet Builder and give us some insight.
Alright, I have 2 lovely games. Actually, there are 2 interesting games. Barca Newcastle, Liverpool Galatasaray. Liverpool is my side, of course. We're not doing so well, but guess what? I guarantee you, we won't lose. We won't lose this game.
Alright, so let's start with the Liverpool game. Give us a nice Bet Builder for that game.
Alright, so Liverpool to win, score over 2.5 goals. Both teams to score. I think Galatasaray will score. We can't keep a secret to save our lives. Don't laugh. We have 8 corners, I think. We should get over 8 corners because Liverpool will pressure them. So I'm seeing a lot of corners and I'm seeing at least 2 cards. So for that, you'll get $3.50. And I think that's really a good odds for that easy $3.50 odds. You can put 10 pounds on it. As a Real Madrid man, you probably want to put a 50. I don't know. So for you.
Yeah, that sounds good. That's good money. So if I should put a $5,000 on that, playing it safe, Chris, what am I looking at? 17,000.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. That's good money.
That's good money.
That's good money.
And guess what? It's 90 minutes a work.
90 minutes
No
a work.
bank will
No
give you
bank will give you that.
No.
I totally agree. So now, for the hot match of the 2,
Oh, Barca.
the Barca.
Barca
match.
is a beast at home. Mind you, Barca have won 17 straight. Don't forget that. 17 straight at home. They're really deadly. They have scored 3 or more goals in the last 9 consecutive.
Interesting.
So Barca scoring over 2 goals. They will pressure Newcastle. That's it, over 9 corners. As a matter of fact, I think Newcastle won't score. So we'll go for NG. Remember we say NG, one team to score. Barca will score. You can't have one team right now. Barca will score. You'll get, for that, I think we'll give you $5.50.
$5.50.
Yeah.
So that's even bigger than the Liverpool
Than the
game.
Liverpool game. Because they'll score more goals.
Ooh.
Liverpool not scoring, so Barca will score.
I think I like that ticket more, enough.
I think you should, because Barca, with threat going forward, Newcastle can't withstand. They can't.
Okay.
The thing is, Camp Nou is so big. I know a lot of fans have been calling in the same boy. Newcastle hustled them in the first leg. But guess what? That new camp, when that 90,000 crowd drop on them, they can't hold it up.
So they're going to be basically playing against 12 man.
I think 13.
That's a good
90,000, 13 man.
All right. Fair enough.
Probably just all right. You know what? Share your bet. But as a matter of fact, I will be coming to you back shortly. There's a bet chat on our website where punters can share them bet with them bridges. So
they can share the wealth basically.
Yeah, man, right away.
All right, punters, you heard it here from Chris. He is rarely ever wrong, so go out and get that ticket. But we have something else in store for you. We'll go and talk about correct score. So Chris, we're just going to touch on 3 matches for this one. We're going to touch on the Barcelona game, the Liverpool game, and the Tottenham game. So give us some correct score predictions.
All right, so correct score. It's a very good option. You maximize the spending. You spend a 500 with a correct score. Correct score is actually very difficult to win.
Right.
That is why the odds are way more competitive. Liverpool, they got 1-0.
Right.
So for Liverpool to go through, they have to win by 2 clear goals. So that correct score, you get $13 for that.
$13.
Galatasaray, a little sticky trouble side. They might eke out a 1-0. 1-0, you get $21. So I probably encourage you to bet 1-0. Galatasaray.
I like that one.
That one, $21. Barca. Barca, that is a beast at home. 3-0. I think 3-0 is easy. I don't see Newcastle scoring. 3-0, $13 for Barca. If Newcastle do eke out a 1-0 window, that's $36. And I think $36, you really can't get that anywhere. But guess what? It's not a bad option. They led 1-0 for 94 minutes last week. So who knows? I think we should try that.
Okay.
Tottenham, this is a hard one. Tottenham is really no good. Really no good. They have 14 players out injured. They don't have an identity. The coach he doesn't have any vision, right? 5-2 they lost last week, so I see them winning. If they can win 3-0, they'll get $36 for that. But that's a stretch. I think they should probably go with Atletico Madrid 2-1, $9.50.
$9.50.
Yeah, man.
And if I should put a $500 bet on that one, Chris, how much am I looking at?
Which one?
The $9.50.
4,500.
4,500. That's still not bad money.
Good money, man. Good money for 90 minutes. So if I keep telling you that, let's work with it.
All right, guys. All right, so thanks again, Chris. Your predictions are always on point and putting money in the punter's pocket.
Good to know, that's it.
Yeah, man, we appreciate that.
Okay.
All right, so Sean, time for the JustBet challenge, you know. I'm going to put you on the spot, you know. So both of us are going to be on the spot. We're going to make predictions, and then next week, we're going to laugh at the predictions, because some of them are going to sound whack by the time the results happen. That's the nature of predictions, right? That's the nature
true.
of sport, and that's the nature of football. Bayern Munich versus Atalanta.
Jordan, I'm going to be a devil's advocate and say Atalanta will win this game 2-1.
That's more than devil's advocate, boy. Because unless Bayern rests their players just because they already feel like they have the tie wrapped up, which I don't think they would ever do, that's too dangerous. Bayern is not going to lose this game, I don't think. I'm going to Bayern, and I'll say Bayern will win this one 3-1.
Fair prediction.
Yeah,
The
Liverpool,
next one
Galatasaray.
up, Liverpool, Galatasaray.
Yeah.
Jordan, I'm going to go with the first leg result and say Galatasaray will win 1-0.
That one now, I might put my head on the block for and go to the limb and say, yeah, I'd probably go for the upset, you know. I'd probably go, I'm not talking as a Liverpool hater, by the way. Probably go for the upset for real. So I'll go with you, but I'm going to say Galatasaray 2-1.
2-1.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't see that happening. I see 1 goal in the match, but next week we'll see what happens.
Liverpool will be going for the goal. Galatasaray will get a couple of goals because of that.
All right, Jordan. So next up, Tottenham at home to Atletico Madrid.
This one, I'm going to go with Atletico Madrid. Even though Atletico Madrid is away from home, Tottenham just, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I really don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that one. I will say Atletico Madrid wins 2 goals today.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go Atletico Madrid 3-2.
I don't see Tottenham scoring, but okay.
No, they're gonna score. They're at home. They're gonna score.
All right, let's see how that one goes.
Barcelona though versus Newcastle. Now this is the one I think that is going to be a contrast from the first leg. Barcelona had to really fight to get a draw in the first leg. I think Barcelona blows this one wide open. I see Barcelona winning this one over Newcastle 3-0.
I can agree with that. I mean, I'll go a step further and say they'll score 3 goals in the first half. And it will probably end like 4-1 overall.
Yeah. Barcelona to win and goals. That's
Definitely.
what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing. All right, people. All right. So that is a wrap for this week's episode. Shav, remember, this is your go-to spot for sports betting insights, match previews, and fan-fueled debates as usual. And I also want to remind the folks, bet smart and stay informed. And if you have a hot take or a winning bet, drop it in the comments, and we might feature you next week. Right? You know people love feature, right? Might
True.
feature you next week. All right, so that's gonna do it then. See you next week. Shav, we're gonna laugh at some of the predictions, but
As always.
we're gonna have fun.